Felton L. Davis, and my early life was spent moving. I was born in Ohio. My family's from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and that's where I went to high school and college in Baton Rouge. So one of the things I remember from high school was I had a love for reading and a love for traveling. We traveled just about every summer, go on a trip somewhere, and I did a lot of reading. It didn't matter what it was, I just loved reading. And I've just reflected lately that one of the things I enjoyed was in the newspaper, in the Weekly Reader, there was always a picture. There were two pictures that were almost identical, and there were at least 6 things that were different in the picture. And you were asked can you find the differences? And that ability to look for patterns and see where there were differences in patterns has helped me throughout my life, because it helps me be able to see things that maybe would otherwise be missing. So I never thought of that would be a valuable lesson for life, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed reading, and all those things that I did when I was little, I've reflected on. They've helped me to get where I am today. I'm an only child, and I was born in, as I said, in Ohio. The date, I was born October the 11th, 1942, during the war, almost at the end of the war. And I have 5 aunts and 3 uncles, and all of them are now passed. My last aunt, the youngest one, Aunt Eleanor, passed in 2019. So now this summer will be her 3rd year passing. As I said, when I was growing up, I loved traveling. We went a lot of different places. Again, that's what I was used to, and I just thought that was normal for everyone to do that. Since that time, when I got married, we have 2 children. My wife and I have 2 children, and I was in the military at the time, and by being in the military and the Army, we moved quite often, and they assumed that was normal, that they moved, they've lived in the States, they've lived overseas, all of this by the time they were in high school. And again, now they're always constantly traveling, so it's amazing how things that you get used to, you sort of continue to do them. They can change, and that's one of the things I think is important to learn, that sometimes you might have to change what you've been used to, because one of the things I found out, I didn't know I was being segregated against when I grew up. Even in Ohio, we went to the movies, but we sat up in the balcony. And I didn't know, because that's where everywhere, the people that I live with, my neighbors, are all Black, African Americans, and that's where we went when we went to the movies. We went up in the balcony. And I didn't know that, and to me, that was just as natural as anything else was. It wasn't until much later, I guess around senior high school, college days, that I started realizing, everybody isn't treated the way I'm treated, There's racial discrimination, so things have a way of working out. Well, some of the challenges I found out by being prepared, studying, learning whatever you like, I think that's very important, to follow your dreams, do the best you can. And what I found out was that you might be the best, but at least when I grew up, oftentimes you were overlooked. And example, I applied for the Air Force Academy. And first of all, it took me 2 years just to get a nomination, because the representatives and senators from Louisiana always were so polite in telling me, we just used up our last and we wish you well, but I could never get a nomination for the Academy until I finally wrote to the African American congressman, and I finally got a nomination from Representative Nix from New York. And however, I didn't make it to the academy because I got washed out during the physical. I dislocated my elbow playing football, and that's the only thing that hasn't hurt me since then. But I was told that, you know, if you're going to fly a jet, that might inhibit you. And there were other issues, but I wasn't expecting that, you know, because I just grew up thinking that everybody was honest and didn't have hidden motives behind everything that they did. I served in the Army for 20 years. I started through ROTC in high school, got commissioned through ROTC program at Southern University in Baton Rouge. And then I got my training and was stationed overseas in Far East and Korea, 2 tours in Germany. The second tour in Germany, my family, I was married when I went to my second tour, and actually our children were put in German kindergarten at the time. So they went to kindergarten in the morning, in German kindergarten, and then the US school program kindergarten in the afternoon. So they've been learning to be multilingual as just a regular part of their life, and that's been a benefit for them. I've served in high places, and I've been in some places where I was the only black around, way out in the middle of nowhere. Because of what I did, I was involved in an area that I dealt with explosives, and that's an area that safety is quite important, and because of it, I ended up being in a lot of small towns, as well as big towns like Atlanta. I was stationed in Atlanta for 3 years, and that's where our daughters were born. But I enjoyed the service. I got to see not only Europe, Africa, Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, and almost all of Europe while I was in the service. And I learned to fly on my own, even though I wanted to apply for the Air Force Academy, but I ended up getting my private license just as through the flying club with the military. My community building was working with the Scouts. I was a Boy Scout when I grew up because that's what we did in the neighborhood. And I became an Eagle Scout, and then later on I had an opportunity to work with Scouting as an adult volunteer and found out that I could help other youngsters, youth, become Scouts and try to become Eagle Scouts. Scouting teaches you to be, have self-confidence, all the skills that make you a good citizen. Scouting enforces those things. By being connected with the Boy Scouts, I've worked with the Urban League. I currently serve as the chair of the Civic Engagement Committee with the NAACP branch here in Buffalo. I've worked with the Buffalo Urban League. So I've taught school here in Buffalo. So I've done a lot of work to help others because someone helped me. You know, someone saw some value that I must have shown them, and they helped me, suggested things. I just wish I had more mentors when I was growing up to make better choices, but I've survived and I'm doing okay. This pen is 50 years, 60 years as an Alpha. That pen is what I just received it. I just got it. I made, my 60 years was 22. So I just made 60 years last March. And so I finally decided to go ahead and get a 60-year pin to show that I've been around. So again, in Alpha, I've been a chapter president. I've been an area director. I'm now serving as the national chairman for the Boy Scouts Committee, which is responsible for all the 5 regions of Alpha, including Alpha units in overseas locations like Africa, Europe, Japan, Korea. My advice would be to find something that you like and become good at it, because that's what you like. And then be aware that just because you're good at it, you might not always be welcome. So don't give up, just keep on doing what you feel that you need to do and find ways to get around when you find that you're being held back solely because of your race. It's very important to have self-confidence, and you get that by doing the things and feeling comfortable with what you know and who you are. I found that my religious training, I come from a very blended family, Methodist, Baptist, Catholics, Jehovah's Witness. So I've been around being reverent. Reverent is one of the issues that's key to Boy Scouts. So I believe that it's been God's will that I've gotten what I've done, and I just try to keep doing what I can. My hashtag is, you just said something about I'm so quiet. Well, my hashtag is a humble servant in training. So, I try to remember that, I'm not the way to end all. I'm just here doing my part.